Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our third Australian Reiki Connection online event on the topic of Reiki, personal and professional practice. And tonight we have three panel members, our long-standing ARC members, Sulek Harris, Vasha Chowdhury, and Sarah Najjar. They will be the ones talking about their experience, views, and wisdom that comes on the topic of what's the difference or similarity, and what's the glue that joins the two together when we think about Reiki in this sense. And we'll start by doing a little meditation where we're just gonna ground ourselves and open to receive the blessings of this sharing. After our members present, we'll go to Q&A, and basically we're going to have closing remarks, and I'm just going to put up a slide about future events. Let's just start by doing a little very short meditation. I put this slide for those who have a problem closing their eyes. Believe it or not, there are people who struggle with closing their eyes, so this is a nice picture you can focus on. Otherwise, close your eyes and just focus on your breath. Allow the air to come into your lungs and gently exhale. You can place your right arm onto your heart and the left arm on your belly, and just monitor how the belly rises as you inhale and the chest falls as you exhale. Now gently get into the rhythm of your own breath. Imagine white light of Reiki coming down from above through your crown all the way to your hara. And that white light of love spreading throughout your body, reaching any tension you may hold in your body and dissolving it softly and gently. With each breath, this light is getting stronger. It's bringing relaxation and ease. Allow it to spread and grow. And now imagine this light as it comes down through your crown all the way to your center, to start spreading out outside of your body into the universe like a star. As you allow it to receive, you're able to give, and this light comes in and shines from you, fully connected, embracing our community of souls on this plane, feeling the love and gentle, soothing energy. May this feeling stay with us for an hour. May our breath be gentle and calm. And now allow your hands to drop into your lap and move your shoulders gently. And when you're ready, open your eyes. We are back into the room, our virtual Zoom community. And thank you. I hope you enjoyed that little relaxation. And here we go. I introduce our first panel member, Sarah Najjar. Sarah is a Reiki master, teacher, practitioner. In traditional Usui Reiki tradition, she's been offering Reiki in professional practice since 2002 and has taught traditional Usui Reiki since 2009. Sarah presents Reiki in a way that is clear and accessible whilst maintaining the spiritual essence of the practice. Sarah was a keynote speaker on the benefits of Reiki for children and carers at Melbourne's Autism and Health and Wellbeing Expo in 2015. She has published in Elephant Journal and spoken on the benefits of Reiki at a couple of interesting festivals. Soul Star Festival in 2020, Seven Sisters 2021, and Healthy Moms and Healthy Families Summit in 2021. Sarah also taught Reiki at two of Melbourne's health colleges, Australian College of Fitness and Bodywork and Victorian Fitness Academy. So Sarah, take it away. You can share how you see Reiki in terms of professional and personal practice.
So I thought what we could talk about today is self-Reiki practice, and then how self-Reiki practice contributes to professional Reiki practice. So let's begin by thinking about what self-Reiki practice is, or what Reiki practice is. And Reiki practice, I would say, is made up of two main components. One is the hands-on self-Reiki practice, and the second is practicing the Reiki principles each day. So if we're thinking about the hands-on self-Reiki practice, generally that's taught during Reiki level 1. And during Reiki level 1, we learn hand positions for our self-Reiki practice. So I thought, and usually those hand positions start at the head and then move down toward the feet. And so I thought what we could do today is just go through some of those hand positions. So if we just take our hands and we place them over the eyes, then over the ears, over the forehead, the top of the head, throat, center of the chest, upper hara. So hara is abdomen, lower hara, and then hips. So as we do those hand positions, different things might come into our mind. And what we could do as one thing we could do as a practice is just bring our awareness to what's happening underneath our hands as we place our hands on different areas. The other thing when we think about self-Reiki practice is, when can we do self-Reiki practice during the day? And really, we have quite a few opportunities to practice Reiki every day, the hands-on self-Reiki practice. One could be as you're on public transport or you're being driven in a car as a passenger. Another opportunity could be each time you find yourself waiting for somebody or waiting for an allied health professional. I think an opportune time for self-Reiki practice is first thing in the morning, because if we do our self-Reiki practice first thing in the morning, it can then, if possible, there's always choice, but if we do it first thing in the morning, it then sets us up for the rest of the day. So as well as doing it in the morning, you may also wish to do it before you fall asleep at night. When we're thinking about self-Reiki practice, we could also think about how long would we want to spend doing self-Reiki. And generally speaking, we could perhaps, if possible, spend about 15 minutes or more doing self-Reiki practice each day. And let's just say that you don't have an opportunity to do 15 minutes in the morning, then there are other opportunities during the day when you could practice, perhaps on your lunch break or perhaps on your way home from work, or perhaps each time you're feeling physically, mentally, emotionally, or spiritually off balance. So that then leads us into another aspect of Reiki practice, which is, as we're thinking about how do we, if we're thinking about self-Reiki practice and professional Reiki practice, and we're also thinking about what Reiki is, and Reiki is many things, but one thing is that it's an excellent self-care practice. So whether we're practicing Reiki professionally or we're practicing Reiki just for our own self or on our friends and family, practicing Reiki is excellent self-care because it helps to balance our system physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. As well as it being a self-care practice, as a spiritual practice, it connects us more deeply with ourself and something else that's greater than ourselves that we're a part of. And so when we practice self-Reiki, it helps to guide us in a way that's best for ourselves, and also so we operate for the best, in the best way for our own self, but it also guides us in how do we then operate in the best way for our patients and students. And I would say that that ties in with Just for Today, the Reiki principle of Just for Today, we do our work honestly, because as we're connected more to our own self, we then have a deeper understanding of how to operate in a way that serves others as well as serving our own self.
Have anything else that you want to add, or this is a conclusion of your part?
That is exactly how I wanted to end.
Perfect. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you. Now I'll take it to our next speaker, who is Vasha. Hi, Vasha. I'll just introduce Vasha to our community. Vasha is a Reiki master, and she's internationally certified results and life coach, a conscious stance facilitator, which is cool, and also qualified counselor. She's been a coach and practiced Reiki master for more than 4 years. She says that through her own personal development journey, that she found her calling and her mission to share the knowledge, depth of understanding and awareness of the inherent correlation between mind, body and spirit, and how we can create our own reality. Vasha defines her purpose in life is to be in the service of healing, to help anyone who wants to transform their life into one of freedom. Vasha continues to live her purpose through her coaching and healing business, and which is called the Liberation Project, by helping her clients go through a mindset shift while being lovingly guided and supported on their self-empowerment journey of rediscovering their true self and to go on to live happy, fulfilled and purposeful lives. And Vasha will now tell you a little bit more about her views on the topic of personal and professional Reiki practice. Take it away, Vasha. It's your turn.
Thank you, Slavika. Good evening, everyone. So imagine a moment in your life when you were completely at peace, a moment where the world around you seemed to just fade away and your innermost being was resonating with the most harmonious energy. That is the essence of Reiki. So ladies and gentlemen, and my esteemed colleagues, thank you so much for having me today. And I welcome you all to the ARC event on Reiki as a personal and professional practice. And I am taking this incredible opportunity to share my personal experience of Reiki. I believe Reiki is the light that calls to you to connect, or rather reconnect with your true self, others in your life, and the vastness of existence that surrounds you and all of us. Picture a person burdened by depression, anxiety, and desolation. Her only hope is the hope that there has got to be more to life than her current experience. She has been accessing professional help, but not receiving quite what she is looking for until Reiki enters her life. From the very outset, she knows this is the nature of help she has been looking for. And following her next sessions, she starts to feel a shift in her energy. Her perspective gains a deeper understanding of her challenges, but more importantly, clarity on the way forward for the new life that she envisions for herself. Now, if you guessed that that is me, you would be quite right. Reiki not only accelerated my emotional and mental healing, it also completely healed a physical ailment that I had recurring in my life for years. After being in an emotionally abusive marriage for six long years, it is quite safe to say that I was down in the dumps. No self-esteem, no confidence, and basically loneliness and constant self-doubt. Reiki started to unpack all of that by working on my energetic centers, also known as chakras. It aligned, cleared, cleaned, repaired, and healed with particular focus on my solar plexus, which is also the personal power, the seat of our personal power. But the two most remarkable blessings that I gained from the practice of Reiki, and continue to do so, is a deep sense of self-love and an expansion of my spiritual connection. Because Reiki heals, clears, and activates your central channel, opening up your crown to the universe above you and your root, grounding you to Mother Earth beneath you. Two connections critical for an all-round healthy and abundant life. As part of my personal mindfulness and self-care practices, Reiki helps anchor my mind and body. It just regulates my emotions and also helps maintain balance and harmony in a world that just moves sometimes in a dizzying pace. It boosts mind, body, and spirit alignment, which is the foundation on which I have successfully manifested now a loving relationship and created the purposeful life that I live today. In a world full of distractions, I feel Reiki offers a sanctuary for self-exploration and personal growth. It breathes serenity into your life like a gentle breeze, providing a space for you to reflect, rejuvenate, and rediscover the innate wisdom that you have and all of us have. It encourages you to just pause, quieten the noise within your mind, and by doing so, tune into the whispers of your soul. To finish, I would like to leave you with this thought. For anyone out there, if you're searching for ways to uncover and harness your full potential, find love, discover your soul's purpose, experience the joy that comes from deep fulfillment, or maybe just you want more from life, Reiki may well be the end of your search and the beginning of a wonderful new chapter in the novel that is your life. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Varsha. That was so heartwarming. I was just nodding all the time. And yes, yes, that's perfect. You really encapsulated the essence of personal practice which a lot of people don't get their head around. Like, so what do I do with Reiki? And you just explained in 5 minutes, like, what it means to practice Reiki every day and what doors it opens. And it's just incredible. I completely resonate with that. Similar thing happened to me. And thank you for sharing that. That was brilliant. I'll introduce Sue, our next speaker. And here we go. Sue Lake Harris took Reiki 1 and 2 with the Usui Reiki network in 97 and 98. And Reiki improved her health so much that she wanted to share the wonders of Reiki with others. So she became professional practitioner very quickly after completing Reiki 2. She undertook also a 5-year traditional teacher training apprenticeship and commenced teaching Usui Shiki Ryoho in 2008. Her big passion is mentoring budding practitioners in the requirements of running professional practice. And she created a course offering which is endorsed by ARC as a valuable additional training for Reiki practitioners who want to start the practice. Sue feels strongly that the credibility of Reiki professionals is raised when they can meet the expectations of government and industry as healthcare workers. And she says, and yet there is the personal journey with Reiki, and this permeates all aspects of her life, physically, emotionally, energetically, and spiritually. So to her, there is no real separation of the professional from the personal. There is, however, a difference in how that looks to others, and she will now say a little bit more about that. Sue, take it away.
Thank you to Sarah and Varsha for going first. It's always wonderful to hear what other people have to say, and I really enjoyed what you had to say. So thank you for that. And if we just go to the first slide, please, Slavica, that would be great. So I think when people look in at Reiki from the outside, and perhaps they're considering trying Reiki as a treatment practice that will be of benefit to them in some way, this is what they need to see. They need to see that our professional treatment practitioners adhere to the small business, the legislative requirements, you know, all those various acts that we have to comply with. So the Health and Safety Act, the Privacy Act, all our taxation requirements, gaining informed consent, making sure they've got their first aid up to date, that they comply with various codes of conduct, and so on. On the more personal level, when they go in to receive their Reiki treatment, they want it to be a warm experience, a gentle experience. They want the practitioner to be objective. If they're going in for Reiki, they don't want extras. So they're expecting a professional experience, a professional Reiki experience, where it's warm and it's meaningful, but it's not too personal. And on the environmental side of things, they want premises that are welcoming. I don't know about you, but if I walk into a dental practice, for example, and the waiting room's really untidy and there are a couple of rubbish bins around that are full, they haven't been emptied and all that kind of thing, my immediate impression is that this is not a practice that I want to attend. But if I walk into somewhere where the color scheme is ambient, where there's a nice comfortable chair for me to wait in, where the premises are clean, that makes me feel that I'm walking into an experience that is warm and welcoming. And of course, there are other literal requirements that we need. Things need to be uncluttered. The treatment room needs to be private. There's got to be a toilet facility available. And of course, ease of access in terms of actually getting into the premises or not getting into the premises. So, for example, where I live at the moment, the entryway into my house, the driveway is really, really steep. So I don't run a practice from home anymore, which is something that I used to do. I recognize that even though I've got a fantastic room available to me that I would be able to use as a treatment room, I can't effectively do that if people who have impaired mobility can't safely get to and from my premises. So it's that kind of thing. And when we've got people who go and do their Reiki 1 and their Reiki 2, and they become so enthused about the experience and they think, I think I want to become a professional practitioner. When they start considering all of these issues, that can put them off that particular journey. But if they're brave enough to go ahead and do it, it can thoroughly enhance their personal relationship and practice with Reiki. And I liked what Sarah said about the precepts, because when you keep those things in mind, whether you're doing self-practice or you're doing a treatment on someone else, whether that's professionally or with a friend or family member, when those precepts actually inform your decision-making processes and your approach to Reiki, it can just make a huge difference. Could we go to the next slide, please, Slamitsa? So if we think about Mikhail Usuri's memorial stone, I think it talks there about the Reiki being the recipe for happiness and health. So he wanted Reiki to not only be something that touched us at the heart level, but also enabled us to experience healing on all levels. So physical as well as emotional, energetic, spiritual, and mental health and emotional levels. So that was a pretty impressive all-in-one package, if you like. And in terms of allied health and complementary healthcare modalities, Reiki is probably the simplest in its approach, and yet it can be so profound in what it can do for people. I was told I couldn't have children, and after I did Reiki, I ended up having my first son when I was 40 and my second son when I was 42. So I can definitely attest to the physical healing benefits of Reiki, and that was one of the main issues for me with other physical healings too, like a 9-year-old shoulder injury and an ankle injury that doctors said couldn't heal. Reiki allowed my body to do the healing work that it needed to. Prior to Reiki, those issues weren't shifting. So Usui asked us, and it's got this on the memorial stone, that it's a good idea to meditate on those precepts and to do so every day when we do Reiki on ourselves. So when Sarah was talking about taking maybe 15 minutes in the morning when you wake up, or 15 minutes in the evening before you go to sleep, which is actually what I do, both of those, morning and evening, I meditate on the precepts, but there might be one that resonates with me on that particular day. And that might be the one that I chant quietly to myself while I'm placing my hands in various positions. And like Sarah, while I'm in that state, I can also pay attention to what's going on under those hand positions. So for me, daily practice, that just happens. Takata really recognized that as well, and she reinforced it all the time, that although she termed it in another way, you do yourself first and then you do others later. And for me, I took that on board as meaning if we didn't have the resources to look after ourselves, we don't necessarily have the resources to look after others. So allow Reiki to top up your personal bucket before you then go into your treatment practice to work with your clients. And that's how I considered that. And the last point is we tend to forget that we personally, we are just as worthy of receiving Reiki, which for me, I feel is the essence of unconditional love. We are just as worthy of receiving that for ourselves as we are, as we feel anyone else is to whom we might offer Reiki. A lot of us who do Reiki are givers, and we forget that, and we're urged to do it, to give Reiki to ourselves, to experience that unconditional love and that sense of peace that Varsha was talking about. So in terms of Reiki itself, for me, there's no separation between the personal and professional practice, in that the Reiki is Reiki. It's a gift. And yet it's something we can offer to ourselves and to others. And it helps us grow, which I think was alluded to by the others. And we learn, and we perhaps can become everything that we're meant to be. So I'm sorry I went a little bit over time, but thank you.
Thank you, Sue. That was great. It was such a good finish to highlight some of the aspects of professional practice that people normally meet, as you said, at the point when they want to do it, but then they are bombarded with all the requirements and issues they have to face and sort out. So it's good to have that in perspective. And anyone who wants to take that step, you know where to go. Go to ARC website, find the course, find support, and start that journey as well if you feel called. So I'm going to stop the share of the screen now, and we can really go into question time. I would like to ask a question of Varsha at the moment, just one. I was fascinated just by thinking, like, you are a dance. Do you incorporate Reiki in your dancing and that offering, or have you had any experience with that?
Incorporating in sessions, it's a bit hard because most of my clients may not be Reiki practitioners or associated with Reiki. Some of my regular clients, yes, they receive Reiki and then they come for sessions, but I do have mindfulness aspect in the conscious dance. So I may begin, I don't say Reiki light, but I may begin a session just to make them feel safe in that space for them to express however they want. I do have short session where I say, visualize or imagine white light entering yourself through the top of your head from the universe. And that's a safe, healing, loving light. And then just the way you did at the beginning today, like going all the way down, grounding themselves to earth, and also expanding that light, seeing that light expand from outside them to have a bubble, so that's their safe space. So that sets them up really well for the rest of the session, because they feel like they are safe in that little bubble to express however they want to in the form of movement and dance. So that's my way of incorporating it. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Who else? Does anyone else have a question?
Make a comment in that. Thank each and every one of you, Varsha, Sarah, and Sue, because naturally, as president, I'm always getting questions about Reiki, you know, from the public wanting to know about, and ARC's philosophy is to first and foremost maintain Reiki as a spiritual practice. And that leads to lots of questions. Of course, you have to emphasize that it's not a religion. So talking about the self-practice has been very important, and self-healing. And I believe that if we all, as teachers, those of us who are, could go out and make the whole world level 1 Reiki channels, we would be doing enormous good to the world. But then when it does come to the professional practice, a lot of, as Sue said, they get put off by what has to be done, and they think it's government interfering with it. But in actual fact, the professional practice is for the safety and benefit of our clients, and what we need to do to demonstrate that we are professionals. And that is what will slowly and surely integrate us into mainstream and into a greater public awareness. So I think the both of them, the personal and the professional, are, as Sue said, there isn't really much separation. They're equally as important, but it's how we demonstrate it. We can show self-Reiki by demonstrating it on ourselves. We can, by our example of how it affects us, allow others to experience it that way. And then through professional practice, they can experience it by receiving a Reiki treatment. But even as we know, those of us who are practitioners, in giving a Reiki treatment, we're also receiving it. So we're getting the best of all worlds. So I thank each of you for highlighting the differences and the similarities of the benefits of it, what it is, and the personal and the professional. So thank you.
Thank you, John. Thank you.
Actually, if I may, Slavika, can I
Yes.
come back to your previous question? Because I was thinking on a different line altogether. I was thinking more of the clients. I do incorporate Reiki in another way in the sessions, is that I cleanse the room. I'm going to be conducting the session with Reiki symbols. So I give it Reiki love before the session, and I use crystals as well. So that's another way I do incorporate in the sessions.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I asked that question because I know some of my friends, Reiki practitioners, and others I know, they are usually having multiple modalities that they offer. But it's interesting how Reiki could be incorporated in everything else. It's like a food for the soul and for the heart, and it just clears the space. It makes that environment so friendly and open and light that people actually get a lot more out of the other modality because of Reiki. So that's why I thought, like, do you do that too? Yes, thank you.
I was thinking from a person's point of view, and then later on I thought, no, actually I do use it from a space point of view. Yeah, I do that even when I move on to new houses. I clean the house with Reiki symbols when I move to a new place.
That is beautiful. I think I would like to learn a little bit more from Sarah. From your experience, when you practice Reiki with your clients, how does that align with your personal practice? Like, I'm just thinking in terms of if Reiki clients ask questions about Reiki, do you talk about your personal practice to them and offer that, like, you can actually be trained to do Reiki on yourself? Like, does that come up often in your sessions with people who come for the treatment?
That's an interesting question. And I think thank you for asking it. And generally, I don't, because it's a professional practice, I generally don't share my own experience unless somebody would directly ask me about it. And then I would be careful in what I share with somebody, because that, let's say it's an hour session, it's really focused on their needs rather than my needs. So I'm very careful not to talk too much about my own self. What I do find is that sometimes when I'm experiencing something or when I'm working through something, that can be mirrored in the person that I'm treating or the people that I'm treating. And I think that could partly be because sometimes in order to help other people, it's helpful if we have also had that experience. But as they're sharing that with me, I wouldn't necessarily say to them, oh, yes, I've been going through that too. In fact, I wouldn't, generally speaking.
Yeah.
There are some particular things that I feel comfortable to share. So as an example, let's just say that someone's coming to me as an example when I'm teaching, and I do sometimes mention that, let's just say that I used to experience period pain, and then I learnt Reiki, and I placed my hands on my abdomen before I got my period, which was when I used to experience the pain. And then over time, I no longer experience that pain. And I'm really happy to share that kind of thing with my female clients, because therefore, if they choose to learn, they can also help to, self-Reiki practice will help to rebalance their system over time. So therefore, they may also have the same experience where that they experience a reduction in pain. Does that help? Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
And you just brought to the surface that professionalism that Sue is always saying, like, when we are in practice, there are boundaries that we shouldn't be crossing. And what is it that you say? What is it that you shouldn't share? And it's really about the client, not about us.
That's right.
But then there is that aspect of mirroring, and I've, like, the way you described it, like, that's what I've been experiencing. And it's very fine line that is like a practice. You practice and learn not to cross it over time. But I think what Sue is, what I like about this preparation for professional practice, that everyone should have from the get-go. We should be knowing that these are the things you shouldn't be doing in practice, or avoiding doing them, because that then becomes something else, not professional and client-focused practice. So thanks for sharing that. I think others will get some benefit from hearing this when they hear it and when they watch it. I'd like to ask Sue one question, just leading out from this one. Yeah. Sue, when it comes to professional practice, I'm intrigued by your energy and commitment to create a course that will prepare a professional to do their work. I would just ask you if you can just in short terms say what that course covers, so whoever watches this may go like, I would like to do this because this is useful. So just if you can tell us what the course is about. I'm curious myself. Thank you.
Well, we can sort of blame ARC for the course creation. John and I met many years ago before I joined ARC, because the Skills Council was looking at basically forcing Reiki people to do some kind of equivalent of a certificate 4. And that turned out to just not be possible, because there were people who wanted to honor the traditions of Reiki, but there were also people then who wanted to bring in other forms of energy work that weren't necessarily Reiki, but they wanted it all under the same umbrella, and it just became too hard. My background is in corporate training and course design and facilitation, and I have a degree in education. So I had a lot of experience in writing courses and things like that. And John and I and others who were involved in that process, we talked about, what if there was something made available that took the common ground of the practice of Reiki? So in other words, somebody could learn Reiki from Joe Bloggs, and somebody could learn Reiki from Michelle Nurks. And it would be the core practices that we would refer to in terms of actual treatment requirements in professional practice. So, for example, some people start with the abdomen, some people start with the head. Depends on where they learnt. It actually doesn't make a difference to a client necessarily. If you're still doing a full treatment, the same areas are still covered. So the course doesn't dictate how you deliver your Reiki. You do that in the way your teacher taught you, but it covers everything else. Occupational health and safety, infection control and hygiene, furnishing your practice premises. Who understands about weight loading for their treatment tables or their chairs? A lot of people aren't even aware of that. What about the National Code of Conduct for professional practitioners? So part of the course involves practice sessions that have to be done and logged, just like someone who does a massage course, for example. They've got to do student practice clinical sessions, and those are assessed. All of that's involved, but the course will help people design their appropriate materials that they need for promoting their business, for keeping client records, for getting informed consent, for complying with all of those legal requirements. The last thing I wanted to see was for Reiki practitioners to fall in holes because they weren't aware of a legal issue. Copyright. Who understands that you can't use your Spotify account to play music when you're doing a Reiki treatment? You can't. You have to have a commercial license of some kind if you're wanting to play music in the background when you're giving a Reiki treatment, or in your waiting room. And there are ways you can get free music to do that. But it's those sorts of holes that, if you like, the course plugs it. Plugs the holes.
Yes. Yes. Can you tell us, is that course done online, or how is it done?
Pre-COVID, I used to love delivering it in person. With COVID, I've got it to the point where it can be done online via a portal, but it still means that assessment tasks have to be submitted. I still go through and double check everything that people do and provide individual feedback. So they get really clear responses around, for example, their client health history forms. I give them information on what it involves, and then I ask them to create one for their own practice. And then we look at what should be included and maybe the kinds of things you can't ask on a health history form, that sort of thing. And it's all done in such a way that I support people and I mentor them. And then if they struggle with something, I'll work with them one-on-one so that they develop the understanding or the tool that they need. It's online, but with personal interaction as required.
That's perfect. That's perfect. I would highly recommend it because I got your book. You have a similar book about that?
Yeah.
And everything is in there.
Yeah. The book covers all the compliance information.
Very good.
The course is what helps people develop everything for themselves and actually do those practice sessions and become very confident about when I open my practice and a client comes in through the door, I can be comfortable knowing that what I do will be professional and will be compliant. And while Reiki can help us all dissolve nerves, it doesn't necessarily, sometimes we're human beings and we can still get a little anxious when we're doing something for the first time.
That's true. Thank you so much for sharing. That's brilliant. Now, I read a comment or a question in chat box that now is asking, and I can also see that Sarah said she will email. Now, because we have a few more minutes, I would like to hear if anyone, I'm not sure who is this directed to. So the question is, and that's relating to that line between the professional and personal when we have a client. So it says, does it come with practice? I guess the ability to see that line and not to cross it. I feel I need mentoring sometimes when sharing experience or when clients ask questions. How do you draw lines? So does anyone want to say something about that from their own experience?
Well, there's a whole section of the course that's about appropriate lines of communication and exactly those issues. So in a nutshell, what Sarah was talking about, where if someone asks you a direct question, yes, you can respond, but we still have to be careful around things like not making claims of healing. So if somebody asks me, what has Reiki done for you physically, I'm happy to give a couple of short examples. And Sarah, your one about period pains, a really, really good one. But I always make it really clear that Reiki was the resource that my body was able to utilize for the body to do the healing. So I never claim Reiki does the healing. Think about it. If you cut yourself and you clean the wound and you put a Band-Aid on, it gets better, but it's the body that heals that cut, not the Band-Aid.
Yes.
Yeah. And people forget that our bodies are amazing. So anyway.
Yep. Anyone else wants to add to that? Vasha or Sarah?
I'm completely in alignment with Sue. Thank you. The Band-Aid example, I love it. I think I'm going to use that with your permission. Usually, so far, how I phrase it is that Reiki unlocks your body's innate wisdom and healing mechanism. So it is the light that allows your body or gives your body permission to start to heal itself and remember the wisdom that it was born with to begin with, and then goes on the healing journey. So that's usually the line of communication I use. But I love that Band-Aid example.
That's brilliant. Yeah. So how are we going with questions? We have another 4 minutes till conclusion of this event. And if you don't have any, I would like to go to our concluding slides. Before that, I'm just going to say that we have another event coming up on 15th of September. And this one is Reiki Stories, our journeys of spirituality and healing. So for this event, we are going to have, again, 3 panel members sharing their journeys of spirituality and healing. This one is going to be very casual, where people can openly share what they have experienced. So it's not going to be like a professional setting where we can't share. This is going to be the one that we can share, because it's quite miraculous what our bodies can do with that support of Reiki. And we thought like concluding event could be on that topic. So please join us, spread the word to your communities if you know they would be interested in hearing about it, so we can have greater attendance. And at the end, I would like to thank our panel members, Sarah, Varsha, and Sue, for their participation and lovingly sharing their stories and experience. And a special thank you to all our attendees who are present here and now, and those who will be watching this in the future. So thank you so much for coming and joining this event, and good night.